Are Locked On Spartans, your daily podcast on the Michigan State Spartans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You know it's serious business when this guy is sharing the camera with me or the microphone with me if you're listening on the podcast. Yes, that is Justin Thin of 247 Sports. But before I even let him get a single word off on today's episode, hey, today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts. Also, please rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. LockedOnSpartans@gmail.com. All right, that's enough blabbing from me. Justin, tell us everything that we ever have to know about football recruiting, because my God, is it a white-hot month for your Spartans.
Is there something happening this month?
Devin Royal taking a visit for the MSU basketball team June 17th. I don't know if anything's going on for football, but yeah, that's what I know for basketball, at least. And they might announce an assistant coach this month at some point.
Let's talk about Devin Royal for a while.
Sure, let's do it. Yeah, 30 minutes. Let's go for it.
Yeah, so
great player.
So Devin Royal. I'm just kidding. So they have 42 guys visiting so far that we know of for football this month. Yep. 41 OVs, and then Jaden Wayne as an unofficial starting tomorrow. So yeah, tons of action here. And I'm hoping that I can sleep a collective of 42 hours this month. So we will see how that goes. But essentially, I know I've used the word unprecedented a few times when describing the weekend, but that really is the best way to describe it. Michigan State has 3 5-stars on campus this weekend, all of them from outside of the region, one from Texas, one from Georgia, one from Washington. I don't know if Michigan State has ever had 3 5-stars from out of the region visit in a single calendar year. Maybe they have, and someone can tell me about that. But as far as I know, that has not happened, and these guys have had it happen in one weekend.
It's unbelievable. So is this, because obviously this is going to be a month-long event here. Every single weekend has a lot of star power coming in. With 3 5-stars, 4 4-stars, and 3 3-stars visiting this weekend, and I also want to add a caveat to the 3 3-stars at the end. 2 of them are already commits, Bo Edmondson, Jonathan Slack, and that third 3-star, still a top 400 player in the country in Sham Umarov, offensive tackle from Georgia. Is this the biggest weekend of the month, or is there still another weekend where you're like, that one might actually be bigger somehow?
That's a very good question. I think you cannot go wrong if you say this weekend is bigger or the July 11th or the June 10th, 11th, 12th weekend is bigger, because so this is where you have the most top tier talent. And then you also, in the 3 5-stars, then you also have the number 1 interior offensive line target in Madden Sanker, the number 1 tight end target in Jelani Thurman. And then even Sham Umarov, he's a composite 3-star, but he's a 247 Sports 4-star. He's somebody that can commit, and Coach Cap would take his commitment right away. So yeah, just a lot of talent this weekend. You also have Demetrius Bell, who's one of only 2 wide receivers that they're allowing to take an OV to Michigan State. So yeah, very good weekend here. But then if you start looking at June 11th, June 10th, you have Caleb Presley, 4-star corner from Seattle. You have Ryan Yates, 4-star safety from Texas, committed to LSU. You have Enau Etta. Everyone knows about Enau by now. You have Andrew DePape. He's a great recruiter, so you want him around all those guys that weekend. You have Jordan Hall, one of the top linebacker targets. You have Jamal Anderson, another top linebacker target. Obviously, Kedrick Risano, the running back commit. Clay Whedon, King Mack, Brendan Parachek. That's where the 4-stars end for the June 10th. Then you have 3-star Elijah Page, who's now a 24/7 4-star. He has all the offers you could want. Jaden Bonsu, all the offers you could want. Ohio State wants him badly. Those are the 3-stars. Terrence Green, a top 400 3-star from Texas, defensive lineman. And Colton Hood, a 3-star, the lowest ranked recruit visiting that weekend, who the Spartans would take happily at corner immediately. So you have, from top to bottom, 14 guys so far publicly announced. One more will be joining that fleet here in a matter of a few days. He would be ranked ahead of all the other ones that I've just mentioned. So that weekend, I would say personally is bigger just because I don't get caught up in the 5-star element too much. And I think if you're landing top 150, top 200
Sure.
guys in bigger quantities, it means more than just one 5-star. So my answer would be June 10th, but anyone saying June 3rd would not be incorrect.
I like that. I mean, yeah, I'm all for anyone that's in the top. I'll even go further than you. If you're a top 300 kid, if you're a top 400
for
kid,
sure.
like
For sure.
that kind of tickles my fancy over here. But yeah, I mean, any way you slice it, massive weekend. And you also pointed out in your piece yesterday, that's for free on 247sports.com. And hey, if it's free, it's for me. So 29 4 stars or higher. I mean, safe to say, I probably should have led the episode with this question, but safe to say this is the biggest month in MSU recruiting history. Is that, like, we're both young folks, so maybe we're, more recency biased, but I got a hard time believing that even like back in the 80s or 70s that they had weekends like this. So, but
for sure,
for all intents and purposes, biggest weekend ever, or biggest month ever, I guess.
Yeah. I was talking to Jack Ebling, who would know better than most people about the historical context of recruiting, and he said he's never seen anything like this month. And I guess March and April were kind of following this same trend. But a lot of those kids were not going to commit. So the stakes were kind of lower. You were simply just trying to hope that you can lock them in for June OVs. And Michigan State checked that box across the board with pretty much all of them. So yeah, like, because we were talking about how unprecedented March and April were. And we were not wrong. That's definitely the case.
Right.
It's just the end goal of those visits is not to land commitments per se. It's to lock in OVs. So now that you've locked in OVs, a lot of these kids are willing to commit in the summer. Not all of them, but a lot of them are. So the stakes are higher this time around than they were 2 months ago. And yeah, 42 kids locked in, 43 here soon, 29 4 stars or better. And if Michigan State lands even 7 of these 29 4 or 5 stars, just 7, they will have 11 in the class total, and that would tie the school record for 4 stars in a class. So they just have to go 7 for 29 to land the most 4-star or higher class in program history.
Now, is that on top of the 3 4 stars they already have? Is that
correct?
Is it just,
correct.
Okay,
Yeah. To combine with those guys, they need 7 more. And you're looking at 11, and then I think it's 11. Maybe it's 3 4 stars, and you're looking at 10. Either way, they need 8 or 7 4 stars, and they were already looking at a historical class. You land any more than that, which I expect them to, you'll be fine.
It's all gravy. That's A-okay on our end. So speaking of like numbers like that, any indication of how many guys we as MSU fans should be expecting to commit? Because I talked about this on yesterday's show, is that just because they take visits in June doesn't necessarily mean they'll commit 2 days later, like Caden Hauser did. But he was a very rare circumstance last year. Like Alex Van Sumeren took almost 2 months after his official visit to commit. Gates Jr. took a month. Jack Nickel took nearly 2 months to commit after his official visit. Is this year going to be different, or is it going to be kind of the same as last year, where we should expect like a month or 2 month break?
I think this time around you can expect an even longer delay, because these are higher ranked kids than Michigan State has recruited before. They're having all these SEC schools and schools from far away continuing to work at them. Last year, it was Michigan State had a lot of highly ranked kids on the board as well, but it's a little different when you have somebody like, I mean, I guess you take your pick, but we can go Caleb Presley, who, Michigan State, if they make a great impact on him this weekend, could become the leader. But at the same time, he has USC, Oregon, Texas A&M, some SEC schools, all trying to vie for his commitment. So these kids are not going to be in a rush to come to a decision and lock down their recruitments, because they're not in danger of losing their spot. That's what it comes down to. Some kids that are kind of in the top 4, 5, 600 range, they might lose their spot if they wait too long. In this case, not really many of Michigan State's recruits would lose their spot, except on the offensive line, just because they have so many talented kids that they're bringing in there, and maybe at the defensive line a little bit. So I would say more patience is required this year than last year. But at the same time, there's always a couple kids that do things a little differently. So like Samson Okunlola, I would expect him to maybe commit this summer despite being a 5-star. Elijah Page, I would expect him to commit this summer despite having offers from everybody you can think of. Sham Umarov, 4-star. So like there's kids occasionally that'll buck the trend and just still commit in the summer anyway, even if they don't have to worry about losing a spot. But for the most part, I would say more patience is required this year than in years past.
Right on. Awesome. And of course, I'm going to have more, football recruiting questions pertaining to this month, Michigan State and all that fun. But Justin, I just got to say goodbye to you just for a hot second here. I'm going to miss you a lot, but I just got to preach to the people about betonline.net. Once again, like we are still in the thick of an awesome sports season, whether it's the NBA finals going on, the race to the Stanley Cup is heating up. We got another horse race here in a hot second. That's right. The Belmont is going to be any one of these weekends. I always forget which one it is, but hey, when it starts, betonline.net is going to have you taken care of because why? Well, they're the number one source for all your sports betting needs and info. Find all the latest sports developments, news, and odds, including this year's basketball championship matchup, NHL hockey conference finals, Major League Baseball, and of course, the latest fight news from MMA to UFC and boxing. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sports wagering information, including live betting, esports, and so much more. So head to the website today. Use your mobile device. Learn more about the trends in action. That's at BetOnline, where the game starts. And before welcoming Justin Thinn back onto the show, his lovely face, hey, gang, we got a survey that we just love for you to take. Let us know what you do like, what you don't like about Locked On Spartans. That is at lockedonpodcast.com/survey right now to get it started. It won't take very long. Everyone that completes the survey can qualify for a chance to win one of 10 $100 Ticketmaster gift cards. Once again, that is lockedonpodcast.com/survey. Thanks for your help. And I already know that one of the comments is going to be, get Justin Thinn on the show more, as if we don't already do that enough. But hey, there we go. Justin, where do you want to start the segment? I still got like 1,000 more questions that I want to go through. But it sounds like to me that they do have in mind, and by they I mean the coaching staff at Michigan State, they have in mind the positions that they really want to hone in on and fill out.
Yes.
And an example of that is the roughly 57 kids that play defensive line that are going to be visiting here this month. Or on the contrary, just like you said last segment, they're only letting, 2 wide receivers visit this month. So it looks like there's an emphasis on certain positions. Is that true, or is that just kind of the way it goes? Okay, perfect.
Yeah, so
they
they have a huge need at defensive line and offensive line just because that's where, like, you can win the Big Ten if things go your way without having great trenches, but then you get to the playoff and then you kind of get beat up if you don't have great offensive and defensive line play. So you need the formula that needs to be followed is what Michigan State is doing this offseason. That's where they're prioritizing the positions, and plus in the portal era, you can easily find wide receivers, running backs, linebackers, and safeties if you need to in the portal. What you cannot find in the portal, at least not very, very widely, are defensive ends, specifically ones that can get after the quarterback. You can find run stuffing DNs like Drew Jordan, but people that can really make a difference rushing the passer, you won't find many in the portal. And then you won't find offensive tackles in the portal. As through high school recruiting and any other positions, you can basically fill in the cracks through the portal. Obviously, they're still going to be recruiting those positions through the high school ranks, but you need way more bodies at those positions I mentioned than at maybe, say, wide receiver.
Right on. Gotcha. And that makes sense. So it's kind of a combination of both, right? Like they need that position group, like the defensive lineman, but also like it's no mystery that, you're getting these guys like Vic Burley, David Hicks, Jaden Wayne because of Brandon Jordan, Marco Coleman. I mean, is it like truly 100% those are the reasons, or are any of these guys telling you like, no, I'm actually coming to Michigan State for a different reason that's not this all-world defensive lineman coach? I mean, I think I know the answer, but on the off chance that it's a different answer, have you heard anything else?
Yeah, David Hicks said he's coming to Michigan State because of Barrio. No,
good. Yeah, awesome. Big Eastside fish fry guy. Yeah, absolutely.
So they have given indications in the past. For example, Jaden Wayne, when he was offered by Michigan State, he didn't really know a single thing about the program. He had never talked to Mel Tucker before that time when he got the offer. And really his thing was he was talking to Corey Robinson right around when he got that offer. And he basically goes, yeah, Brandon Jordan's hired there. Michigan State's making my top schools list, even though they just offered me tonight and my list is dropping tomorrow. So like Brandon Jordan is the key there. Vic Burley, now there in Georgia, it's a lot of Brandon Jordan, but it's also Marco Coleman when it comes to Vic Burley, because that's where Marco Coleman kind of has his back, Florida area, but also obviously BT Jordan has a huge influence. And then Mel Tucker's name carries a lot of weight in Georgia. He's a guy that the fans kind of indirectly credit for the defense that was built here when they won the national title. They understood that when he left, it was to become a head coach at a Power 5 program at Colorado. They have nothing but respect for him, and he's kind of just beloved down there in Georgia. So that helps with Vic Burley a little bit. And then DJ Hicks, that's all BT Jordan. BT Jordan has worked with him on a daily basis since middle school. And it's not one of those relationships where the kid worked with BT Jordan twice and then looked at his NFL results and is kind of intrigued, like Andrew DePape. This is, he worked with him like Monday, Wednesday, Friday since 8th grade type of thing. So all BT Jordan there with David Hicks.
That's massive. And another thing that fascinated me too is that I think there's 2 kids from Michigan taking official visits to Michigan State this month, and they're both commits. It's Jonathan Slack, the guy out of Martin Luther King in Detroit, and then tight end Brendan Parachek out of Dexter. Why the lack of emphasis for Michigan recruits? Is it just not really a world-class cycle this year? Is it because Michigan State is that national brand, a cocktail of both? Or why is it no love for the great state of Michigan for the 2023 cycle?
So I think the answer is it's a little bit of both, but the answer is probably like 60% a bad class in the state and 40% the national brand, because the 2024 class has a lot of talent in the state of Michigan, and Michigan State is probably recruiting like 3 times as many 2024 kids in the state of Michigan than 2023, even though this is the current cycle. So it is a lot of the fact that it's one of the worst states, one of the worst years I've seen for the state of Michigan in a long time. And we thought some of the previous years were down. Like we thought 22 was kind of down, 21 was kind of down, but this kind of sets a new low for the state. But 2024 is coming strong, so that's good to see. But at the same time, Michigan State's getting responses from kids they were not getting responses from before the 11-win season, before Tucker started to brand himself nationally. So they're definitely going to be taking advantage of that and extending the net. And that's not just my opinion or what I've gathered. That Saeed Khalif said, I think it was either in an interview or to a reporter in an article, he said himself, last year, some of these kids that we're trying to talk to now were not responding. Now they're responding and they want to visit. So they have to, they're going to take advantage of that.
Shame. That's right. Always respond to your text messages, folks, as I look down at my phone and I have 59,000 unread emails. So, oh boy, yikes. So speaking of the 2024 class, like, are there any 24 visitors coming this month, or is this month strictly just for the party of 2023?
Yeah, there's definitely 2024 kids visiting. I have some names here that I can pull up, but for the most part, those kids don't announce like 3, 4, 5 weeks in advance like the OVs do, because the OVs, you kind of need to be invited by the staff. You need to worry about the logistics. The staff and the player has to coordinate on paying for the visits and stuff like that. But in terms of unofficial visits, the kids can literally just decide, hey, next weekend I'm going to Michigan State. So that news kind of trickles in periodically. But yeah, like right now, Michigan State is set to host Caleb Beasley, a top 100 player from Tennessee, on June 9th. 2025, DJ Pickett, who already has over 30 offers, I believe. You have the next year's version of DJ Hicks in David Stone, meaning he's a kid from the South who's a top 10 5-star defensive lineman that worked with BT Jordan. So he hadn't worked with him as much as DJ Hicks, just a 1 or 2 off thing, but enough to get him to visit. And then he's coming with his teammate, Xavier Sims, who's a top 250 kid. And then you have the man himself, Seatbelt Fegan, coming on June 21st. So like these are just the ones that like the kids that have come to us and told us about their visits, but we'll be doing a lot more work and getting those names too. But as you can already see, a lot of high upper echelon talent here.
Let's talk about the story of the offseason. Now, I should have just let off the entire show with this because this is the biggest story going on in East Lansing right now. But the creative department for Michigan State football has lost some key members here. How big is that when it comes to recruiting, like guys that make these photoshops or these sick videos? And is MSU going to have these guys around for the month of June to make these sweet edits of these 4-star and 5-star kids? And I'm only saying this like half joking because like honestly, like they actually do enjoy this stuff a lot, but like how big of an impact does that kind of make here for kids like this?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, if you have seen Twitter or something, you would kind of think that we just lost K9 like thrice over.
Yeah, Jay Johnson's out of here. Right?
Yeah.
Brandon Jordan just went to A&M. It's horrible. Yeah.
But yeah, those guys have done great work here. I was a big fan of Blaze and what he did with the videos and really the whole department. And it is, in this industry, there's not any opportunities to move up unless you leave. Like you don't get to move up inside of the same program very often. Also, the field is pretty saturated. And if you look across college football, the pay isn't what it should be and what these guys deserve. So because of that, it's an industry where there's going to be tons of turnover no matter what. At Michigan State, these guys had more visibility than a lot of other schools as creative people. So that's why it looks like it's a unique situation. But like at other schools, these guys are leaving at the same rate. They're just not people that their fan base knows or that Michigan State would know about them leaving. So it just has become a bigger story than you would think. But that's just because these guys had a bigger visibility in MSU Twitter, and that's because of MSU Twitter's excitement and involvement in recruiting. But yeah, I don't think they'll have any issues filling these spots pretty soon. I know they get over 100 applications for each of these roles anytime they post them. There are a ton of people in the field, which is unfortunately why the pay isn't what it should be, is because there are that many people waiting in the wings to take over. So yeah, I think, you can look at it from both sides and you can see why those guys would want to leave, but also not have any fear that things will not be continuing to run smoothly at Michigan State.
That's how I know you're a big time fan base, is that you care when like the assistant graphic designer like leaves, and that's a big deal. Like God, I love the offseason. I love this fan base. One thing that I want to hit on really quick before I hit you with a random question at the very end is that Ryan Yates is visiting at some point this month. I forgot if it's next weekend or the one after that, but regardless, 4-star defensive back commit, I believe, and he is committed to LSU right now. Fascinating thing there, because I heard a rumor floated out, or maybe not a rumor, but a theory floated out that maybe he committed to LSU and he's going to be taking these official visits because, well, there might be that NIL bargaining chip attached to him, and he could say, well, this is what I'm going to do at LSU for X amount. And this isn't a Ryan Yates specific instance. Like this might be a thing that we see more and more of. Is this a thing that you think we see more and more of? Guys committing, walking in with a price tag, so to speak, and being like, this is the bar you got to clear if you want me to commit to your school while they're on their official visits. Yeah. Or is that theory just all BS to you?
I think that's kind of what happened with another defensive back that committed to LSU that is taking an official visit to Michigan State this month, in Dalen Austin. That's just my speculation. That's not me saying that's what happened, but I believe that's the feel I have of that recruitment. So you're definitely spot on that being a strategy. That in terms of Ryan Yates, he's just always been really high on Michigan State, but Michigan State had a wider cornerback board earlier, wider safety board, and you can see like Jaden Bonsu, Elliott Washington, and like these guys that Michigan State is in on at safety, and other ones too. They just were not in a position to accept his commitment at that time, and he did want to commit at that time. And but he always said that as long as Michigan State lets me take my official visit, I would be taking my official visit there. So now I guess the ball is in Michigan State's court and how much they want on the OV and as soon after. But yeah, that's been a very interesting recruitment that the message board at least never lets die down, always asking about Ryan Yates.
Right.
But yeah, it's as long as Michigan State is interested in him, he will continue to reciprocate interest.
So is Ryan Yates this year's Keontae Goodwin, in the sense that like the message boards can't go 8 hours without bringing his name up? Is
yes,
this
so
year's
far.
Keontae Goodwin? Okay, awesome, yes. Perfect. How happy are you to not have to follow Keontae Goodwin anymore? And not just the kid. The kid's a great kid by all accounts, but just the fact that the fan base, hand up, I was part of the problem, was feverishly asking about him every 16 seconds. How thrilled are you that like that's just behind you in the review mirror.
Yeah, I think the reason that I'm kind of thrilled is that this time around, every recruitment is a little more straightforward in terms of the battles in front of Michigan State. Like, yeah, DJ Hicks, Texas A&M has a lot of resources, but you weigh that against about as murky as it gets. Jaden Wayne is just who he's going to like the most. Vic Burley, who's going to like the most. With Keontae, it was always Vince Morrow had built a very close relationship with the family, with his mom in ninth grade. So Michigan State had to go against that huge kind of entrenched bond that Morrow had built years ago. And then we could see that Keontae's heart was leaning towards Michigan State. But going against that 4-year bond was always what made it more difficult than a regular recruitment to cover. So yeah, it's refreshing to have these kind of recruitments where there's no 4 years of history that you have to weigh against what you're really hearing in terms of intel.
See, there we go. And I want to get you out the door here. Thanks a ton for your time, first of all, for all your information. I know the listeners love it. The viewers absolutely love it. So I'm going to put you in the hot seat right now. This is the hardest hitting question I had for you. We've been doing start one, bench one, cut one here and there the last week or so. So for you, between the three, you got to start one, bench one, cut one. It's very self-explanatory. Eastside Fish Fry, Barrio, and the Brody Cafeteria. Start one, bench one, cut one, Mr.
Brody is the easiest cut. That's just
come
such
on.
An easy cut.
Oh, you know what? No, this is over. Forget it. Jeez.
Listen, Brody is
the heart.
Brody is good for the first week you go there. Then you realize that they don't change the menu.
They don't have to. Don't change the winning recipe. Brody's only good the first 4 years here at Michigan State, in my opinion. That's how I see it. So anyway, as you were.
I went to Brody for a week, and then I started eating at Case after that. And I stand by my decision. And listen, so at Case, you would have a different menu on Monday, a different menu on Tuesday, Wednesday. You had Nashville hot chicken sandwiches there, and it was elite compared to Brody. So I'm a Brody slanderer at any opportunity I get. Start, I would say Barrio. I mean, I think I like Eastside better, but it's harder to find tacos than fried chicken that you really, really, really are like, this is elite. Sure. And I think there are some places in Detroit where you can go and get chicken that's not a huge drop off from Eastside. But in terms of Barrio's tacos, the drop off is much bigger everywhere else in the state, in my opinion.
The prophet has spoken right there. Wow. Not only does he do recruiting, but he does Lansing area eating opinions. God, it's going to take me a while to get over that Brody slander right there. But you know what?
That was me being nice because I didn't want to get screwed by the university.
don't do this. Well, Justin, love the first roughly 26 minutes of this interview, and the last 2 minutes, we'll talk. We'll talk after the DMs, and I'll probably start crying once I hang up this call. But yeah, hey, awesome talking to you as always. I know the listeners absolutely love it. The viewers absolutely love it. And man, what a month for Michigan State. And can't think of a better way to kick it off than with talking about recruiting expert himself here, Justin Thin of 247 Sports. You're the man, JT. Hope you enjoy your weekend, man.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you having me, as always.
Let's go. All right, gang. We'll be back Monday. Next week, 3 episodes per week starting for June and July. It'll be like Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. That's where we're going to go with as of now. Of course, I like to call an audible every once in a while, but yeah, so that's going to be it. We'll be back Monday. Have a great weekend, everyone. Love you all.